What did that season truly cost you?
Everything but my marriage. I had days where my feet wouldn't even touch the floor. And those bad decisions led to me getting fired as the pastor. They escorted me, my wife, and my daughter out of the pastor's house and told us to never come back again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Salem Speakers Podcast. Today, I'm joined by someone whose story is a powerful reminder that your greatest failure doesn't have to define the rest of your life. Micky Bell is a national touring comedian, motivational speaker, actor, and author who performs more than 250 live events every year across the country. His message of resilience, second chances, and hope has impacted audiences in churches, conferences, corporations, and communities nationwide. He's also appearing on the upcoming film Second Chance alongside Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo, a project inspired by many of the same themes that have shaped his own life and journey. Micky, welcome to the Salem Speakers Podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us.
Man, thank you so much. I'm tired just hearing everything that you said I've accomplished. I'm wore out now. I need a nap.
Well, better you than me, because one of us had to do all that work. Before we talk comedy and speaking and everything that you're doing today, I'd love to really just start with your story, right? Can you let our listeners know who is Micky Bell outside of the stage? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what brought you here today.
Absolutely. So I was raised in a very strict Christian home. Okay. Thankful for my upbringing. It kept me out of jail. But I was raised in that strict Christian home and was just determined to be in the ministry from the word go. At 17 years old, that's when I entered into the ministry, knew that I was going to be a pastor, did everything I was supposed to do to be a good pastor. But the one thing that I was not taught as a kid was how to handle my emotions, how to handle my thoughts. We were kind of taught that you pray about it, you just don't talk about it. Okay. So I packed everything in and kept everything inside and had never learned that it was okay to go find someone to talk to get it all out. Well, as I became an adult, got married, entered into the ministry, when they put that mantle of senior pastor on top of my shoulders, there was such a great weight there that it caused all of my emotions that I had been packing in as a kid to start leaking out. And I tell people every night, miserable people make bad decisions. And I was a miserable person, pastoring a church of about 500 people. And I started making some bad decisions. And those bad decisions led to me getting fired as the pastor. And they escorted me, my wife, and my daughter out of the pastor's house and told us to never come back again. Wow. And that's when I hit rock bottom and fell into one of the deepest pits of depression that a person could ever fall into.
I mean, you're obviously very open about experiencing what you describe and you're telling us as failure in your life from poor decisions. Many people, many humans on this planet would hide those moments. They would bury them as deep as they can and never bring them back up. You seem to be very transparent about yours. Why is that?
I have learned that when I am able to talk about it myself, then I take the power away from the haters. And I take the power away from the circumstance that allows me to be in control of my own narrative. So if I'm able to own what I did, very open about it, then I'm able to live my life in peace. And I'm able to live knowing that people hear it from me. They don't have to hear it from the internet or social media or from other people who try to tear me down. So if I'm very open about it, there's nothing that they can get on me that can stop me.
Yeah, I love that. And former pastor myself, ordained minister, I love sharing the gospel. And so I can completely understand with that. When you have so much reach and exposure, it's best to take control, as you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you talked about that season taking you into a deep depression. You hit rock bottom. You know, what did that season truly cost you? Like, what did that season cost?
Everything but my marriage. And that was hanging by a thread. Yeah. She probably should have left me. But one night we were laying in bed in the middle of all this pain. I mean, it's still fresh. We're talking about the first couple of weeks of everything coming out and everything happening. We were laying in bed. Of course, she had her back to me. She was not talking to me. And I said, why don't you just go ahead and leave? I'm giving you permission.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight you. Take whatever you want. You don't deserve this. Just go ahead and make that cut. And I remember, man, she turned over, looked at me, and tears were rolling down her cheek. She said, Micky, you don't know how bad I want to. She says, but I can't, because God won't let me. Because he has told me that if I leave you right now, you will never become who he destined for you to be. So she's the hero. She's the hero of the story, right? So she taught me that she was going to stay with me because she saw more inside of me than I even saw for myself.
That could bring a grown man to tears right there. That's powerful.
It's a good time to take an offering, don't you think?
Yeah. Was there a moment through that? I mean, obviously that's a pretty dark moment when you're giving permission, right? Granting permission. Now let's even go after that. Was there a moment after that where you thought your life, life, business, career, would never recover?
Oh, every bit of it. Every bit of it. I had days where my feet wouldn't even touch the floor. Couldn't get out of the bed. I built up an anxiety. This is going to sound weird since we're already talking movies and comedy shows and speaking engagements. I built up this anxiety to where I could not go out in public. I couldn't be around people. Yeah. I felt like everyone was staring at me, pointing at me, laughing at me. I just stayed in the house 24 hours of the day. Most of the time, couldn't get out of the bed. And people ask me all the time, they're like, well, how do you do it now? Well, I'm medicated. And I'm very open. And I want everybody to know it's okay to take your medications.
That's right.
I figured if a diabetic can take a shot so they can eat coconut cake, I ought to be able to take a little white pill so I don't kill you. You know what I'm saying? Right. I just think it's fair. Yeah. So we're just very open about that. And so I use my story to help people understand it's okay to get help. It's okay to own it. It's okay to take your medication, and you should never be ashamed about that.
That's great. So you went through the lowest of lows, the hardest of hard. You were able to rebuild. You were able to achieve something now that so many people that I actually interview on podcasts and I coach are trying to get to the level that you're at today. So let's go to the rebuilding phase, right? Okay. And so when everything changes, where do you begin? Like, what was your first step toward rebuilding your life?
On my face, on the floor for 2 hours, saying, God, I'm not getting up from here until you tell me exactly what you want me to do. And when he started telling me, Micky, I want you to go, and I want you to, these are the words, I want you to encourage my bride. I want you to help her laugh again. Because the world is getting so tense, she's forgetting to laugh. Right. Oh, we know how to shout in church. We know how to pray. We know how to sing. Some know how to dance if you're not Baptist. So I'm just saying, all these other emotions, but we're forgetting to laugh. And that's a very key component in building a healthy life for yourself, is being able to laugh. And he said, I want you to go encourage my bride, help her laugh again. Okay. And I knew that it had to be God, because being raised, in that independent Baptist church, all comedians were dirty. We didn't have any clean comedians that we could watch. No, we could watch Hee Haw. We just couldn't watch comedians. Yeah. And so when he said this, I knew it had to be him, because it was not on my radar. Yeah. It was not something that I secretly desired. It was not something that I was praying for permission. It was something he just downloaded inside of me. And you know what? I guess I was just crazy enough to run with it.
That's good. I mean, a little bit of crazy goes a long way when you run in the right direction.
Absolutely.
What did you learn about yourself, right? So we're in the rebuilding phase. We're getting our life back together. We're trusting God. We have the supportive wife. I mean, what did you learn about yourself through that entire process?
I learned that there's a lot more stamina in me than I thought was in me. Growing up in a very painful situation of fighting for my emotions, wondering who I was, constantly second guessing everyone that came into my life, wondering if they were going to stay. I found within myself that I had the stamina and the tenacity that I needed to be able to make it. Yeah. And that I didn't need everybody else's permission. I didn't have to go and ask everybody else's approval. I didn't need my parents' approval. I didn't need my haters' approval. Right. I just needed my approval. I just needed to be able to give myself permission to succeed. And so when I gave myself permission to do that, that's when everything changed.
That's awesome. If you could look back now, what would you tell the version of yourself that was in the middle of that struggle?
There's a whole big world out there, and the enemy has got a loud voice. Yeah. And many times that voice is louder than reality. because he was making me think everybody knew about me. Everybody was against me. But when I realized there was a whole big world out there, I realized it was just a small amount of people that were against me. And then I found out there were a whole lot more people for me and fighting for me.
That's right.
And so I realized that the voice of the enemy is a lot louder than reality.
That's powerful. That's deep. And I love that. And you're just hitting us with a lot of one-liners that we can splice and dice into some reels. And so you're throwing them out for us. So I appreciate it. I'm formerly a pastor. I still love traveling to preach the gospel. I successfully made a transition into corporate business speaking, teaching on marketing and sales, right? That's essentially how I got my way in the speaking world. Is I did a lot of gigs talking on, how to grow your business, how to make more money. I launched a marketing agency. I can see the segue there for myself. I'm excited to learn about a segue that I don't know yet from you, which is how did you segue from ministry to comedy, right? You mentioned, God was saying, make my bride laugh, right? But at some point, comedy became a part of your journey. And so maybe bring me to that part of the story. How did that happen? And how do we go from preaching sermons to, stand-up comedy?
This as being a former pastor, every pastor thinks they're funny.
Fair enough.
They always have those jokes, right?
That's right.
Every pastor's got those jokes. And I was known for that. My personality lent toward being funny, having one-liners, being able to take any serious situation and turn it into a humor situation. I didn't know that I had the ability to do stand-up comedy. I reached out and I found someone that was coaching future comics. And they literally listened to some of my messages that I preached and said, oh, yeah, you've got the delivery, you've got the timing. We just now need to work on your material. And so what I did not realize was that God had already placed inside of me everything that I needed. I just didn't come to the realization of it yet until I hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, that's when you say, okay, I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that when you're successful as a pastor and you've got a church that's growing and you've got a full-time salary that's providing for your family. That's harder to step out on faith. But when you're hitting rock bottom and your face is in the ground, I'll do whatever. That's when God can take you and say, okay, finally, you'll listen to me now.
Yeah.
And so I already had it inside of me. I just had to learn how to bring that out. And when I started doing that, man, the doors just literally from the get-go, just open wide open for me, and we've just been running through every one of them.
That's amazing. How long? So, and I should know this, but for our listeners and also for me, because I don't have it memorized, how long have you been, let's say, full-time comedy? How long have you been doing that?
I started the year before COVID, that I was really doing some shows. COVID hit, everything shut down.
Yeah.
I did not know what we were going to do. But of course, everybody else, we were in the same predicament. So I wasn't stressing out because it wasn't like everyone else was running ahead of me. Right. So I knew that, I was going to be okay. And so my management at the time called me up and said, what are we going to do? Like, you're the one that always comes up with the ideas. You're the one that can kind of foresee in the future what we need to do. And I said, I need you to find me a musical artist that's starving. So they would call me in a week and say, well, I've got this artist that they could travel for X amount of dollars. I said, no, find me one that's starving. Call me a couple of weeks later. I found this artist. He said he could possibly do this, but this, and there'll be these two. I said, no, find me one that's starving. Now I ended up finding a good friend of mine by the name of Jason Crabb of the Crabb family. Jason called me up. He said, how are you handling this? And I said, I'm hanging in there. How about you? He said, man, I'm starving. I knew then I had found the person that I'm supposed to partner with. So what we did, Jason and I, during COVID, we went around and did free shows for churches to help them reopen, those that had to shut down and close. They needed an event to let the community, it's safe to come back out. It's safe to come back to church. We ended up doing 120 shows during COVID. So that was my open mic night, right? Every night. That was my moment to just perfect. Everything else was shut down. We had these people coming out. And I said, instead of, going down to the comedy club to help those drunk people laugh, I was, in the Baptist churches helping those drunk people laugh. Yeah, so it was like, that was my moment to just perfect the craft. And that's what COVID did for me. So the COVID year ended up being, in the business sense, one of the best years for me, because it gave me the opportunity for everything else to stop to where I could catch up.
and you're still in ministry and you're still in the church and you're still doing what you love. You're still using the gift of gab.
Absolutely.
And such a powerful lesson for our listeners. So we get listeners from all around the world because these things are spliced and clipped into videos and posted around. You were willing to do 120 gigs for virtually free. I'm assuming some of those eventually took up love offerings or similar?
They did.
Okay.
God took care of us through
That's right.
every bit of that. But we went for free.
The heart of it was free.
Absolutely. Because we were showing up not knowing if we were going to be in front of 30 people, 300 people. We stood on a flatbed trailer in Memphis, Tennessee, and played in front of 15 people. But we knew what our role was in that moment. And that was to bring encouragement to people who were struggling with the unknown, who were struggling with something we've never had to deal with in these generations. And it gave us the perfect opportunity to really put feet to our words, because we'll always get on and say we want to be used by God to encourage people. This gave us an opportunity to actually prove it.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And I commend you for it. I mean, such a powerful lesson on how to build a business, how to serve with the gifts and the resources that God bless you with. And thank you for being an example there. Why do you think laughter is so powerful?
Laughter tears down walls. It doesn't matter if you're listening to me as a clean comic or if you're listening to some raunchy comedian that you find funny. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just using it as an example to let you know. Laughter tears down walls. And when you tear down walls, that allows me as a comedian or any other comedian, that allows me the opportunity to place something inside of you that you normally would have blocked. Because if I can get you to laughing for 15 minutes, you trust me.
That's right.
And when you start trusting me, I can start speaking purpose into your life. You will not reject it because of the fact that you've already gotten to know me. We've laughed. We've had a great time together. So now you're willing to receive what it is that I have to offer. My job is not just to help you laugh. My job is to help you laugh to the point that you tear down the wall so I can help you become a better version of you.
What's one of the funniest moments that you've experienced on stage?
It's very difficult because you're taught as a comedian to handle hecklers, right?
Yep.
Hecklers are usually those that have had a little bit too much to drink in the comedy club. So how do you handle hecklers in the church? And so you kind of have to do that with kid gloves. And so I kind of name my individuals. Like I got King James Version Kevin, who only believes in the King James Version Bible.
Yep.
I've got Sister Holy Karen. Sister Holy Karen believes she's the only one going to heaven. Yeah. And so I just kind of name those people and pick on those people. And then some of those people just kind of feel guilty on their own without me having to actually point at them. So that gives me the opportunity to have a little fun. I think, though, if you really want to know the true answer to that, it's not necessarily the funniest, but the funnest thing that I get to do is that I get to say things as a comedian that every pastor wishes they could say on stage.
Well, I love that. You have been very open also about your mental health struggles and things that you've gone through there, even made some medication jokes here. You know, why is that conversation important to you?
We have to break the stigma.
Yeah.
Inside the church, outside the church, we have got to break the stigma that you're less of a person because you deal with mental health.
Right.
We've got to break the stigma that you are less of a Christian if you take medication. It's a fascinating thing because I have people coming up to me in tears almost every night that will say things like, my pastor told me that I'm not a Christian if I take medication for my mental illness. And I'm like, well, I sure do hope your pastor never has to have open heart surgery because that's going to be a very painful surgery if he doesn't receive the medication to put him under.
That's right.
So I think we have got to have more people just being open. It actually happened by accident one night. I was standing and doing a comedy show and about 700 people in the audience. We were laughing. I mean, we were having a great time and it slipped out. I just said, whoo, I'm feeling my drugs tonight. Fell across the entire audience. And I thought, I better go back and explain what I mean. And so I went back and for the first time, I announced that I take medication for my mental illness. We started getting emails in the office that next day that were talking about the fact that how could Micky do this? And so when I started opening up, I started realizing just the fact that I say it was power that was setting people free from the fact of them taking their medication.
What do you think people misunderstand most about mental illness?
I think they forget that the brain is part of our body, just like the heart, just like your blood pressure.
Yeah.
If you broke an arm, you're going to take medication to help with that pain. And for some reason, I don't know why we take the brain and we separate it from the rest of the body. And it's almost like if you do anything that helps your brain, then you don't have faith, you're not trusting God. Yet every person that goes through cancer treatments are trusting God that he will use the cancer treatments to help them. So we're trying to separate that. So I think a lot of times, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think a lot of times people inside the church make the comments that they make simply because they don't know what to say. They don't know how to respond. And because of that, they end up saying the wrong things that are hurtful things that do more harm than good.
What advice would you give to someone who feels like they're fighting a battle, but nobody can see it?
You're not alone. Remember, I said earlier, the voice of the enemy is always louder than reality. And the enemy is trying to convince every individual right now that is struggling, is trying to convince them that they are the only ones having to go through what they're going through. Okay. When we start opening up and start talking about our feelings and our emotions, we start realizing we're not by ourselves. We start realizing I'm not the only one battling mental illness. I'm not the only one taking Lexapro every morning, right?
That's right.
So we are having to start this conversation, and I think that's what the comedy shows do. The comedy shows allow us to open up this conversation with people to let them know you're not alone. You're not fighting this by yourself. I think that's why we have the followers that we have on social media, because people are attracted to the fact that someone is finally speaking out on how they actually feel. I think once we start realizing that and realizing that we can help each other, we're going to be able to help a lot more people, because we're losing a lot of people, especially inside the church, and there's some good people.
Yeah, I mean, so today you've achieved a lot of life goals that so many are chasing, right? You have a massive online following, as we've mentioned, a movie's being made about your story. If someone would have told you during your darkest season that this would be your life, what would you have thought?
Would not have believed them. I'm like, you're crazy. I would ask them, first of all, what they were smoking, if you just want to know the truth about it.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I had people quoting Romans 8:28, God's going to cause all things to work for our good. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm on rock bottom right now.
Yeah.
But when I got on rock bottom, I finally got to the place to where I said, okay, whatever. Because God knew that if it had told me this early on, I never would have done it, because it would have taken a large leap of faith on my part to do it. And so, and also be careful what you ask for, because when you say, God, I want you to use my pain to reach a lot of people, he'll take you up on it.
Yeah. You got to go through that pain
every day.
So what does redemption mean to you today?
Redemption, second chance. It's almost like the air I breathe. It's like being able to just simply breathe again, because there were moments in my pain that I felt like that if I take a deep enough breath, that would be my last one.
Yeah.
And being able to breathe freely, knowing that I don't have any of that weight on my shoulders because I have released it, knowing that I am healing each day, and each day that I wake up, I'm walking away from my past, not toward it. It allows me the opportunity to just breathe and enjoy life. Redemption can sometimes be so much of a spiritual term that we feel like it's only for church people. But there's an individual that's overcoming divorce right now that needs redemption. There's an individual that has lost their job that needs redemption. There's an individual that's had to have a career change that needs redemption. So it's not just in the church, it's also outside the church that we need to be redeemed from something in our life. But we have the power within us to be able to get redeemed to the point that we can move forward, move on, and still be successful in life, no matter how bad we've messed up.
That's powerful. So today you're speaking in churches, in businesses, conferences, organizations all over the country. What do audiences need most right now?
They need to be able to laugh.
Okay.
Because when you watch the news and when you listen to all the reports that's taking place in the world, everything is getting tense. You cannot tell people who you voted for out of fear that they're going to retaliate against you. I mean, we've gotten to that place. And so I think, first of all, people need a break. And I think comedy allows us to do that, to take a break from that. But again, once we start laughing, it also allows us the opportunity to come together as a community. I see people every night in my shows that when they start laughing, all of a sudden, what looked like a bunch of individuals in the audience now become one community with one common goal. We want to laugh and have a great time tonight. Yeah. And I think if we could take that outside into the world, this place would be a much better place to live in.
Before we begin winding down, let's do a few just rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So what's one thing that failure taught you?
Failure taught me that I'm not done just because I failed. It was one of those things that taught me that just because you failed at something doesn't mean you're done. It just means you learned how not to do it again next time.
That's right. What's one thing that success has taught you?
Success is not always what you think it is. Success doesn't always have dollar signs in front of it. Success could also mean being able to go lay your head down at night and sleep in peace and wake up the next morning knowing that you have a brand new day to live.
Amen. Amen. For anybody who actually listened to this podcast, I think we know the answer to this next question, but who is someone that believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself?
My family, my wife and my daughter. My daughter came to me one day and she says, "Dad, I sure do love you, but me and Mom can't continue to live like this. We need you to get some help." And it was because of that I reached out and got some help and got on the right track to start getting the healing that I need.
It's powerful. What's one thing that people take too seriously?
Life. People take life too serious. They get so caught up in the bills that they've charged. They get so caught up in the job and the work and how many hours I got to work and all this sort of thing. You get so caught up in life that you forget to stop and enjoy life. Yeah. Because there are good moments in life that you're supposed to enjoy. And we bypass that every day trying to reach a goal, trying to reach a level of success that we forget to enjoy the successful moments that we have already accomplished.
What's one thing that people don't take seriously enough?
Their mental health.
Facts.
Because there's a lot more people that are fighting mental illness than they want to admit. Mental illness is a simple fact that you have been through a tragic moment in your life and your brain doesn't know how to respond. So out of that pain and hurt, your brain starts sending you negative thoughts. Who hasn't been through a tragic moment? If you've lost a loved one to death, you've had a tragic moment. If you've lost a job, you've had a tragic moment. If you've gone through a divorce, you've had a tragic moment. Not only for the parents, but the kids who had to witness the divorce have had a tragic moment. And those are all issues that affect us mentally. And if we never deal with that, it still sits there and never goes away.
So you've achieved a lot, right? We keep circling back to the success. What does business look like for you now, right? So you did 120 free churches. You're speaking all across the country. You're traveling all the time. I mean, if you could share with our listeners, what's the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, where would you like to be? What organizations would you like to serve? What people would you like to speak to and with? What would your dream be for the next 5, 10, 20 years for you and your business?
I have spent the last 6 years entertaining the saints.
Okay.
I have been in churches helping church people laugh, and that's what God told me to do, and that's what I've been doing. I will always do that. I think now my pursuit is trying to reach as many people possible outside of the church.
Yeah.
And that may look like a business. That may look like a Celebrate Recovery meeting. Okay. That may look like a conference, whatever that may look like. I am trying my best to take the message that I have, that I've been entertaining the saints with, and I'm trying to reach as many hurting people that may not darken the door of a church. Yeah. Because the message is what's powerful, not the building they go to get it.
So businesses, corporations, if you need a comedian to come in and shine a light to your organization, you got the guy right here. Micky, if there was one thing that you could leave our listeners with, one final thought, I know we've covered a lot of things and even repetitively covered a lot of things on purpose. What would be that one thought, that one thing that you would want to leave our listeners with today?
Every person that is looking at me and listening to me right now, you're not done. There's more. And even if you think you have hit your plateau, there's more. If you think you're on rock bottom and you have failed too much, there's more. You've got to pick yourself up and you've got to determine in your mind that you're not going to settle. and that you're not going to allow anyone else to stand in your way. And that includes yourself from getting to the place where you want to be. Get to the place in life where I am now, where I feel the most fulfilled when I wake up every day doing what I'm doing right now. That was never on my radar, never on my agenda, never on my vision board. But I wake up every day knowing that I'm fulfilling everything I'm supposed to do in life. That is success.
I love that. Well, Micky, thank you for sharing your story. I think to me, what stood out most is just that subtle reminder that failure is not final. Every single person listening to this has made at least one mistake in their life, and every single person has faced setbacks in their life. We all go through peaks and valleys. We all experience moments we did something that we wish we could undo. But your life, Micky, is proof that one chapter does not determine the rest of your book. Absolutely. Sometimes that comeback becomes more powerful than a setback. So for everyone listening here today, if you're in a difficult season, don't give up. Your story isn't over yet. Micky, where can people go to learn more about you or to connect with you, to follow you? Where would you like people to go outside of this podcast so they can reach out to you directly?
Everything is themickybell.com, THE MickyBell.com. MickyBell.com was already taken, so I had to get creative.
That's right.
TheMickyBell.com on the website, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, mammograms, all of them. I got all the grams covered. Just go to The Micky Bell, and that's where you will find me. We average over 1 million views a week on social media,
awesome.
Just talking like we have talked here today. So check us out. I'd love to come to your area. I'd love to come and speak into the people that you have that need the encouragement.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Salem Speakers Podcast.